Welcome to another Landlord Gurus podcast. Today we are doing a comparison on a couple different very popular property management software solutions, Avail and TurboTenant. So Eli's been using both of them recently and has some good experience with them. And so we're going to let him kind of go over some of those features and kind of look at the differences and similarities between the two products. So just, in case you're not familiar with either of these products, both Avail and TurboTenant are full-featured property management software products that are great for independent landlords like us. So if you've got a few properties and a few units, they're both great for setting up your properties on there, advertising, listing, accepting applications, tenant screening, collecting rent, doing your leases, all that. It's all there in each of those products. So, a lot of people ask, well, should I, what's the difference? Why use one versus the other? So yeah, we'll just go over some of those features, what those similarities and differences are, and we'll let Eli get into that. But before we do, just remember to like and subscribe these videos. You can do that right away, and you get notified when new stuff like this comes up. So yeah, Eli, let us know how you're using both of these products and what you think.
Alrighty. Yeah, I've been using Avail for a couple years now and have started bringing new tenants in on TurboTenant in the last 6 months or so. So I'm currently using both. And what I'll do is I'll just touch on some of the basic features that both of these products offer. They align quite closely in terms of what they do. There are some differences in how they do it. So let me first just let you know what they do, and I'll give you some impressions along the way, and then we'll wind up by giving you some differentiators between the two and some impressions. So first off, like Chris said, both are advertising platforms that will syndicate out to a whole host of property listing sites, such as apartments.com, Apartments List, Zumper, PadMapper, rents.com. Now I'm starting to see Redfin, actually. So they're pretty similar. One nice thing about TurboTenant is that they actually give you a way to create a Craigslist ad, where essentially it's just a button that allows you to download everything that you put into TurboTenant to create that listing on that platform, and you paste it into Craigslist, which is nice because I use that as well. And Chris, I think you still advertise on Craigslist as well.
Yeah. So instead of having to type in all that information again, you can just copy and you don't even have to copy and paste. It'll just download it and you paste it in there.
And if I remember correctly, it actually brings over the photos and everything.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's a lot less work. So that's the advertising side of things. And no matter where those leads come from, if it's a site that has been syndicated to, if TurboTenant or Avail has sent that listing to these other sites, the lead comes in to TurboTenant or Avail.
And into your platform, and you can message back and forth straight through
message back and forth from there. Yeah, you're right. And then you can go into scheduling showings. Both of them have a nice feature where you can list showing availabilities that leads can sign up for. So that's handy because you don't have to go back and forth trying to schedule with people. They can just go and pick and choose. So I find it sounds
right. And you don't get double booked because once someone chooses that time slot, it's gone and no one else can book that same slot.
Exactly. Right. And it's only at times that I'm available.
Right. Yeah. You set those up in advance.
Right. Yeah. And then you can move on to applications. So TurboTenant does a nice job of having a button where you say you would advance this lead to be an applicant. And so it sends them that invite. And you can do it's similar with Avail. Practically speaking, the functions are the same. As you'll hear along the way, I'm preferring the user interface on TurboTenant to the experience, both for myself as well as tenants and applicants, the way it was on Avail. So that's part of the reason I'm transitioning, is it's more detailed, more sophisticated, and easier to use and see. So, and both allow you to write custom application questions with their paid features, their paid subscription. So I'll get into pricing at the end. Let's just address that right off the bat. And are they free? Yes and no. I'll get into the details later on, but you can do quite a bit with both of them without paying anything. Generally, the tenant has a little bit of cost, or you can structure it different ways. So
they both have a free option and they both have an upgraded premium option.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll get into the differences between what you're paying for there. So,
okay. Yep.
So it's very slick on either platform for an applicant to go online. It just takes you sending that link to them, and they put in all their reference information, past employers and landlords, and all their identity information. And then they pay directly for the screening reports, and it comes directly to you.
They can upload their other documents, W-2s, pay stubs, things like that.
An ID. Yeah, that's something that,
Copy of
that's
ID.
super important that I didn't do until recently, is to get a piece of ID. I went for years without knowing whether or not the person I was renting to was really that person. And it's getting more and more important. And also the ability to upload W-2s or bank statements or 1099s. There are so many fewer W-2 employees these days that you have to be able to adapt to different employment forms.
Yeah.
So this helps. The other really cool thing, and TurboTenant was doing this, it looks like Avail has just added it, but it's a pre-screening questionnaire. You can send off a list of questions right off the bat. So mine are: do you smoke or vape in any form? Do you have any animals? Do you make at least 2.5 times the monthly rent? And when do you want to move? So the nice thing about TurboTenant is that sends that directly, immediately to each one of your leads. So it gets right out in front of that.
Mhm.
And those are the big things that will determine whether or not I even want to take the next step with somebody.
Right.
And you have to do that manually with Avail. So it's nice that that's done automatically.
Yeah, and some of those people then may not even, they may see those questions and choose not to follow through at that point, right? If they
Yep.
know that they're not going to qualify. So
Yep.
it just gives everybody that extra step.
Exactly. Right. And it's all written. I'm not asking somebody on the phone, do you smoke? And, well, no, but, so anyway,
Right.
yeah, it's all right there. And it's right up front. So it's a quick selector. Both of them used TransUnion Smart Move for their background eviction and credit reporting, screening reports. Then one nice thing about TurboTenant is that they're offering an income insights feature, which is a function of TransUnion's offering as well, but it takes some magical subset of information out there that I don't understand, fully, but it looks at debt and some transactions, and then it compares that behavior against what the stated income that the applicant has put down. And they're just saying, it seems like it might be higher, their stated income might be higher than what they've actually got based on credit payments and other variables. So I don't rely on that heavily, but it's an interesting piece of information. So that does come with their premium subscription, as do for both of them the ability to write custom application questions, and for TurboTenant, those custom pre-screening questions. So, and while we're on screening, the cost is a bit different. It's $55 actually for both of them, paid for by either the landlord or the applicant, generally the applicant. However, with TurboTenant, if you're on their premium package, then the cost for those reports comes down to $45. So it's a $10 discount.
Got it.
So once you've selected somebody and you're moving on to writing a lease, one of the things that I like most about these platforms is being able to generate documents and get them signed electronically, which I find is a huge time savings. And each of them has 50 state leases that are lawyer reviewed and compliant with each of the 50 states. Each of them has local tailoring for localities. Avail has what's called a local assist, and in my experience, they've done well with Seattle laws, or Washington laws at least. And I know that TurboTenant touts their New York lease, the city of New York lease, which is very complicated, just like our situation here in Seattle. And TurboTenant, I think what they do is they do a lot of that customization, but in any case, with either of these products, if there's any doubt about what your local laws are, either study up or get legal advice, because they're constantly changing and you got to stay on the right side of them. But they do a good job with these auto-generated state-specific leases that get pre-populated. Once you got their name in there and the address, then it's very quick to generate a lease. And for most localities, it's great and really fast. Both of them now, Avail's just added this, but TurboTenant, one of the main reasons I converted is that they allowed me to generate leases offline, which I do through the local rental housing association, because they're up to the minute on local laws, and then upload those just like you are for DocuSign, and have tenants fill those out, sign them electronically. So in my case, I deem that to be necessary because I don't want to make a mistake. Not everywhere is as tricky as Seattle or some of these other locations. So
Okay.
And rent collection, I think they're real similar, actually. So with the free plans where the landlord isn't paying anything, there are ACH or electronic payment fees with either of them, which are paid by the tenant. For TurboTenant, it's $2 per transaction, and with Avail, it's $2.50. So similar. Both of them have similar credit card fees, which are industry specific or industry standard, 3 to 3.5% generally. So
Right. With the Vail, I know that in the past they had the ability to get fast pay if you were on their premium plan, that they purport to be able to get your rent payment to you like within a day or two. Does TurboTenant do the same?
same.
Yeah. Okay.
Same with the paid membership.
Got it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, on the non-paid, it probably takes what, 3 to 5 days, and probably closer to 5, I guess is more realistic.
Yes. Yeah. And it's kind of 3 to 5 versus 1 to 2 is
Right.
in my experience.
Got it. Okay.
And then with accounting, Avail's pretty simple. So essentially, you've got a rent roll for all of your tenants. The platform tracks all of the rent payments that have come in, and then you can manually input expenses. And so, you go to Home Depot and you buy a new faucet and then you upload that expense. It's pretty manual. So TurboTenant has much more sophisticated accounting capabilities. However, you do have to pay for it. It's an add-on through a separate company. It's called REI Hub. But essentially what you're doing is you're buying the basic functionality of QuickBooks as an add-on, which is designed for the landlords with all of the different expense categories pre-established. And that's an add-on. And then you can also import all your transactions from a credit card or bank account. So that makes it a largely automated and also, probably a kind of pre-formatted, function where you can track expenses, income and expenses to units or properties or bank accounts, and you then can have really good financial reporting.
Right. And in both cases, you can download those reports from their platforms, into a spreadsheet or, to send to your financial planner or something like that.
Exactly. And I think TurboTenant may even do a Schedule E, or at least, spit out the pre-formatted information for a Schedule E.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I just input for 3 units for the REI Hub. It's usually $25 a month. Currently, it's on sale for 50% off of that, so $12.50. Significantly less expensive than QuickBooks and all set up for it, and integrates with TurboTenant. So,
got it. Great.
Both of them offer insurance, both for landlords and for tenants, which is nice because you can do it right there. Especially for tenants, I require renters insurance, and they don't have to go anywhere else. They can pay for it right there, and I get the proof right there. So that's
they would go in and they would have to sign up and pay for that themselves, but they can do that through the platform.
Right. They can
quotes or whatever they need to get. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and they can also go to their own insurance broker and then just upload the proof. But this is pretty easy, and given how cheap it is, a lot of my tenants tend to do it right through the platform.
Got it.
And then another aspect is communication. And Avail has kind of a messaging system mainly designed for maintenance. So you can have a tenant send you a maintenance request, send photos and that type of thing, and then you can message back and forth. To my recollection, there's never been a function for looping in a vendor to deal with that. They may have changed that. I'd have to look into that, but TurboTenant definitely has that. And then TurboTenant just has kind of a messaging portal where you send messages no matter what it's about, back and forth with tenants. So I find it a lot more useful on TurboTenant. So let's see, I have a couple gripes.
You want to get into pricing before we get into this?
Yeah, we can do pricing. Sure. Yeah. So, we talked about the ACH fee. So if you're a landlord and you don't want to have anything out of pocket, then you can have your tenants pay the ACH or electronic transfer rent payment fees of $2 for TurboTenant or $2.50 with Avail. So it's not totally free, but it's free to you is, kind of the way it's set up in both cases. With Avail, Avail charges by the unit. So it's $7 per unit. And what you get for your $7 per month is lease and application editing. So you can add clauses to your leases, house rules, that type of thing. And you can write custom application questions. You get the expedited payment, as we were talking about, the 1 to 2 days versus 3 to 5 of the rent transaction going through. And then if you're paying the $7, then the tenant doesn't have to pay the ACH fee. So that's kind of the cost structure for Avail. And then TurboTenant for your $10.75 per month, which is $129 for the year. You get free leases, which you don't get otherwise. Avail does provide free leases, but not customizable with their free package. You get the expedited payments. You get a free landlord forms packet, which has all kinds of notices and forms that cover kind of the broad spectrum of managing your property. And you have a number of addenda that you can choose from to add to your leases. You can customize both your pre-screening and your application questions, customize your leases, and you get the electronic signatures for where you upload your documents, which is not free otherwise. And you get unlimited bank accounts. So you can have your properties direct money into the different bank accounts. That's a feature that is free with Avail, but you have to pay through TurboTenant.
Got it. And so TurboTenant is $10.75 a month, but that's unlimited properties versus $7 a month for Avail per unit. So if you've got 2 units, Avail, you're paying more than you are with TurboTenant. If you've only got 1 unit, Avail might be slightly cheaper.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
So
that is something to consider. Yeah.
That's a quick math. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a lot of properties, that could add up pretty quickly, I suppose.
So it does.
Something to consider. Yeah. When you're doing your pricing comparisons. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. We can go back to your gripes.
Yeah, my gripes. Most of them are little, so I'll just preface it, with that. These are my picky things. But TurboTenant, in the way it syndicates the advertising listings to some of the other sites, for some reason, and I think it's apartments.com, puts my phone number there. So now I have people phoning me, and which I don't like. Mostly because I don't want it to happen whenever somebody else wants it to happen, but also because I want things in writing.
Right.
So they're phoning and texting me, and I don't like that. So probably I can fix that, but I haven't figured out how yet.
Got it. Okay.
And then with Avail, changing the terms of a lease, going from a fixed term lease to a month-to-month, ending a lease early if you needed to for some reason, or changing the pricing, I found that it was a bit clunky and I would make errors that made things complicated, where I'd end up with a new lease, or I couldn't make the change because there was deemed to be an overlap with a pre-existing document and that type of thing. So I didn't like that too much. And then Avail's interface, and we'll provide some screenshots with the content. Avail's interface is pretty simple. They do offer fewer functions, and I don't find it to be as intuitive to use. So.
Got it. Okay.
And then, so the differentiators, the things to weigh, I think, when you look at which platform to use is that, here's a list of things that are kind of different between the two. One thing I really like about Avail is that they automatically email past landlords with reference questions, and you can customize those. So that's not something I'm fond of doing for some reason, and it does it automatically. And incorporated in that is permission from the applicant. So you don't have to figure out how to reassure a landlord that you've been given permission.
Right.
So,
okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Avail lets you connect to multiple bank accounts right up front without the paid subscription. They have free 50-state leases with the local assist without having to pay for a subscription. So in terms of is it free? Avail upfront has a pretty good case. Like Chris said, once you get beyond a certain point, even if you're not paying, if you have 7 tenants, the overall cost, starts to offset itself, though, balance out. TurboTenant, on the other hand, lets you customize the pre-screening questions, which are automatically sent to those leads. Like I said, TurboTenant has an app, which is pretty good. I like it for just checking on leads. I prefer to message on a computer, of course, but you can see rent payments and you can do pretty much anything on the app, which is nice, on both sides, both the landlord and the tenant can. TurboTenant really has a lot of great education, including podcasts and articles, great blog, and they're constantly putting out good content that's great for landlords. And
we also have a landlord's form pack or something like that as well, right?
Yep. Yeah. And that is included with the paid subscription.
Okay.
And it's 32 different forms, pay or vacate or notice to enter or, most any form that you would need is all included there.
Okay.
Avail has rent insurance or rent guarantee insurance, through Steadily, which is a product that's relatively new and getting to be more common, where a tenant, or in this case, actually on Avail, the landlord can buy insurance against the tenant not being able to pay their rent for some reason. So it's like buying an insurance policy. You pay some portion of a month's rent for a guarantee of up to a year that
Right. So
Steadily.
even if the tenant doesn't pay, that you'll still at least get paid
Right.
insurance. Yeah.
Yeah. TurboTenant, I think, has the upper hand on document handling. Oh, Chris, I'll go back and I'll give you the wins on each of those categories. I forgot to do it. So you can make your own documents offline and then upload them and sign them there, or you can create them through TurboTenant. So I like that. TurboTenant also has really good phone and chat support. So both myself as landlord and tenants have used it and had really good experiences.
Okay, good.
Lastly, TurboTenant has some features which are paid separately, which Avail just doesn't provide. So there's an eviction assistance service. You can get coordinated maintenance where they have a phone center and triage and send a vendor. Haven't used that, so can't speak to it too much. And things like LLC formation. So yeah, it's really robust. There's a lot there.
Yeah. Those are all add-ons that they have.
Those are add-ons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And I don't have pricing on those.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll give you the feature by feature. I'll give you the winner. So on advertising, I think TurboTenant because of Craigslist. Showings, Avail, it's a little more intuitive about how to set up your showing slots. And so I give them the win on that. Applications, it's pretty much the same thing. Screening, I'd go to TurboTenant just because of the income insights and because you can get that little lower rate. Leases and documents, I might go with Avail because you can get that if you got 1 or 2 units, you don't have to pay for a subscription in order to get the 50 state leases. But if you want more sophisticated documents and capabilities, then I think TurboTenant is the winner there. Accounting is definitely TurboTenant. They have a lot more robust features there. Rent collection, I'd say it's probably a tie. And communication, TurboTenant's just definitely a clear winner there. So,
got it.
Yeah, those are the
Great.
takeaways.
Yeah, nice rundown of all that. Good comparison. Thank you. We also recently created videos just like this with a full Avail review and a full TurboTenant review. So if you want more information about either or both, check out our YouTube channel. They're all there. Yeah, and then we've got comparisons on our website for Avail versus a bunch of other different products as well, and some others. So yeah, it's all up there. Check it out. Go to our site, subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll get updates for all this as well. So great. Thank you very much for watching.
Thanks very much. Yeah. See you next time.